Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to yet another edition of the GhostComms podcast. I am your host, Jatmon, joined by my co-host, Vishal, yet again. And today, we are joined by perhaps the most known content producer in the Fortnite scene. You've probably seen his name around if you've been in the scene or on Twitter. We have Hevn with us today.
What's going on?
What's good, Hevn, bro? How you been?
Good. How about you guys?
Good.
Chilling, man. Yeah.
So, first and foremost, just kind of get a background on you. Where'd you grow up? How was gaming a part of that? The games you started with, things of that nature.
Yeah. So, growing up, I grew up in Missouri, so not necessarily. I grew up in a small town, so a lot of it was, especially as a kid, like outside doing stuff. So it wasn't necessarily a lot of gaming. But I would say my dad kind of got me into gaming. He had a PlayStation 2, I believe.
Okay.
And he had a PlayStation 2 and then a PS3, and then he kind of switched over to like the 360. The 360 came out when I was a kid. So when we bought the 360, I remember like Black Ops 2 and stuff like that. And I remember him playing, and then even like Halo, the original like Halo 2, Halo 3. And him, and I would be the one. I would like point out the bad guys to him and like, Dad, shoot him, he's over there. So I feel like that I grew up around video games, and that's kind of where I got my initial interest. And kind of as I got older, that's where I started, doing it myself and playing with my dad because there's split screen and he was the dad who like gave me the controller that wasn't on and acted like I played. Just to, make sure I was involved and like made sure I was having fun. I was like, oh, I killed him. I didn't really kill him. We did that. And I remember Halo 4 was probably my first game I really, really got into as a kid. And Halo 4 was, oh man, I can't remember. When did Halo 4 come out? Let me look it up real quick. It was 2012. Okay.
2012. I was gonna say 2013. Okay.
Yeah.
Fair enough. Yeah.
Yeah. So when Halo 4 came out, it was about 2012. So I was enough to like understand video games and how to play them. So that's really when I got into it, and even like playing Halo Reach with my friends, and we all had Xboxes, and so like Halo 3, Halo Reach, Halo 4, like those were the games where me and my friends, getting in the Forge and like building stuff and like playing like what's it called, the spike ball where you have the gravity hammers and stuff. Oh man, that was great. And that's where I really, and even like Minecraft and stuff too, playing that with my friends, which is kind of,
I feel like that's every kid.
Yeah, timeless game. I got my interest. I never really had an interest being in the gaming community until I got my computer. I got that on my birthday, maybe when I was 14 or 15.
Okay.
So it was mainly console, and it was just doing it with my family and with my friends. And then I got my computer, and I really had access, Discord, Twitter, Instagram. I got in the Instagram com, and about whenever I got into got my PC, that's whenever Fortnite was hitting its peak. It had already been out for a while. But I think it was like chapter 2, whenever it really whenever I got my PC, and teams started coming up in Fortnite, and people started. That's when the World Cup happened. It was right after the World Cup, and people saw the value in Fortnite. And I played it on console originally, but then I got my computer, and I was like, dude, like this, I love this game, but like, how can we turn this into money? And I always told myself, I was like, my dad, I love my dad so much. He bought me my PC and got it for a gift for my birthday. And I always wanted to like pay him back and figure out a way to use my PC to pay that off for him. And I've done that. So, and I was able to do that in the first like 6 to 12 months.
Wow.
So it didn't even take that long. I applied myself. I really, stuck my head down. I was like, I love this.
Fort was a business venture for you kind of almost immediately. I mean, it shifted because a lot of people took a lot of time to kind of start viewing it that way. I mean,
so I would say my breaking point was that whenever chapter 2 came out. Chapter 1 was when I was still on console, and that was strictly play with my friends, have fun, and I loved it. And that's where all my nostalgia comes from. I understand the nostalgia factor, and it really, really helped And then chapter 2 came around, and that's season 10 was when the World Cup happened, right after the World Cup. So people like understood competitive and using it content for YouTube. They understood it, and I was like, and that's where it clicked in my brain. Okay, like this is huge. So, and I grew up, being around Call of Duty and Halo and the Halo League and the Call of Duty League and stuff like that. So I understood the competitive aspect of games.
Yeah.
And I was like, this is gonna be huge in Fortnite. So yeah, I saw it and I was like, I really looked into things that I could do and I could learn without necessarily, going to school for it and spending money on it and stuff. And then I came across editing. Highlight editing was super huge whenever I got into it. I mean, the little, Mamacita and they call them like ALG songs now. And those were huge, millions, hundreds of thousands, millions of views on YouTube. And I was like, dude,
100%.
people are paying mad money for this. So I was like, okay, and it's something easy. You just get sent clips, put them all together, do some effects, do some, get a song, do some syncing, stuff like that. So it wasn't anything too complicated at the time. I eventually got into where 3D motion tracking, stuff like that, where it's like, okay, that requires a little bit more time. But off the bat, it's just for friends and $5. It took me maybe an hour, 2 hours. It really wasn't that bad, but I did that for friends for a little bit, and it was more of like a hobby, fun type of thing. I enjoyed it, and I knew it wasn't a whole lot of money, but I loved it, and it was really expressing my creativity, and it got my start in understanding editing and the concept and the software I use, and I still use that software that to this day, Premiere Pro, and that really got my basis in starting in it. So and then I got into content editing, and that's where the real money started coming in. I understood content and longer form videos where 8, 10, 12-minute videos where it's like, okay, like people pay real money for this kind of stuff. I got into that and really understanding retention and how that works and how I could be an effective editor and being, one of the best in the comm. And, I got my name out there and I started working with orgs and huge names. And that's kind of really, I kind of gave my whole story, but that's my background. And
so like for like your entire life, where did you actually grow up, if you don't mind saying, at least?
Yeah, so I like I said, Missouri, but I grew up in a small town. It was called Carthage. It's not really that big, but I live closer to like St. Louis now, so I'm kind of tapped in with like the bigger city and stuff like that. So
okay, cool. So do you like keep up with like your Iowa friends that you used to like go and play with, or like even like you said you used to be outside a lot, or even gaming? Do you guys like you still keep up with them even though you're busy and now in Dignitas and all that?
Not as much. There's very few people
which is
I
normal.
do keep up with.
Yeah.
A lot of them, like I hate to say it, but like, a lot of them have moved on as well as, I've moved on. A lot of, I would say, I mean, the people I grew up with, like when I was an actual kid, I still keep in contact with them. Those are my childhood friends. But the main people I play with, like early Fortnite, I guess, those are like my middle school friends and like, some later elementary. Those I don't really keep up with as much because, I mean, we're all in college now, adults. So like, we don't really, it's crazy to think the kids that like grew up with Fortnite, or not grew up with Fortnite, but the main demographic that played Fortnite whenever it released and like was a huge audience, we're all like grown up now. We're adults, we're going to college, and it's crazy to think about.
Crazy to think about, bro.
Yeah, I mean,
dude, that is
I was thinking about that the other day. I was 16 when the game came out, and I was a sophomore in high school, and I'm about to graduate college next year. Like
exactly. I was about 14, 15 whenever it came out, so it was like
13, I think. 13.
Crazy.
Yeah.
So you're like 20-ish now? 20?
I'm 18. So then
You're
it
18.
probably
Okay.
I'm almost 19. So I was probably a little younger, like 12 or 13, but I was in the age range where it was like a teenager.
Yeah.
Nice. Okay. So wait, you're in college right now?
I am, yes. I'm going for my first semester in the fall. So
okay.
I just graduated.
Nice.
So
Nice.
Congrats.
Yeah, thank you.
Yeah.
What are you going to school for? Like, what are you majoring in?
Yeah, so I'm given by my name, it's kind of inference that I'm religious, and
Okay.
I'm a firm believer in Jesus Christ. So with my life, uh I've always, it's always been wherever God directs me.
Mm.
I've never
Right.
really had a set, like, yeah, I can apply myself and put myself in certain scenarios and really learn things, and which is exactly what I'm doing
Mm.
with production and videography and editing and everything I've been doing.
Yeah.
But in terms of pursuing a career, it's not what I want to do; it's whatever God wants me to do.
Mm.
So I'm still open. I mean, I'm going to college for like ministry and that type of thing.
Okay.
But
Like theological studies or
yeah,
something?
like
Okay.
theological
Okay.
stuff like that. Um, so I and again, I'm not really exactly sure what I want to do and what I
Sure.
feel led
Right.
to do.
Mhm.
But it doesn't stop me from applying myself and learning different things. And
Sure.
even if I do end up working, starting churches or whatever,
Yeah.
I could still use like project management is a huge thing in what I do, and
Sure.
that still applies to that scenario and
Sure.
videography and editing and
Sure.
all that stuff. So
Yeah, of course.
Yeah.
if I've been getting opportunities with studios and doing productions there, and if I decide to pursue those, it's really just up to time and whatever is being
Okay.
led. So
Right.
I respect that a lot. And I like that you're open about your faith. I was a youth pastor for 3 years. So
oh,
I definitely
nice.
get that. Um,
Yeah,
it's in my
awesome.
background as well. I was gonna go to Bible school, didn't end up doing that. But
Yeah,
yeah, I definitely get that, and I respect that that view. I mean, I think kind of it's more important that wherever you find yourself, that you're acting and living in a sense that is representative of what you believe in at your core, right?
oh
And
yeah,
I think
absolutely.
especially in the scene, that's something
For
that I
sure.
try to encourage is that it doesn't matter how much clout you have, who you're interacting with, what project you're
Yeah,
doing, whatever. Like you got to make your character consistent.
yeah, it's
The success doesn't mean anything if you throw your morals away to get there. And
Yeah, that's exactly what I tell people. Like, I'm not one to force my beliefs on anyone.
sure,
I really don't. I don't believe
You
in
don't
that at
seem
all.
like it either. Yeah, you
But
don't seem like it at all.
whatever like you said, whatever your core values are, your morals, just stick to that.
yeah,
Whatever holds you down at the end of the day, whether it's
yeah,
God or Allah or whoever it
yeah,
is, just let that specific thing hold you down, and don't try your best not to stray away from that, because at the end of the day, if you lose that, then you lose yourself.
right, yeah. Well, I mean I think I've heard the phrase like selling your soul and in the
Oh
scene,
yeah.
and like I some people take that literally, and I don't take that literally at all. It's more of a metaphorical, like if you
Hmm.
throw away everything that makes you that differs you from your base animalistic urges, essentially,
Hmm.
everything that you're deciding to do. If you just throw that away for the sake of some selfish gain, I mean, I don't know if you're into philosophy at all. You may have heard it in a theology class, but there's a phrase in a philosophy called hedonism, which is, the ideal that pleasure is king, and that, you just,
Hmm.
life is all about pursuing the most amount of pleasure that you can get out of
Yeah,
it.
and like
And
humanistic type of.
right. So I mean,
Yeah.
like I see a lot of that, I think, reflected in people in the scene, and they're all trying to do what they do for the sake of clout or
Yeah.
money or whatever. And I mean, I don't know, I just it's so empty. I mean, I'm like, and there are
Yeah.
people who succeed that way, but I'm like, it's such an empty
Hmm.
success. It doesn't mean
Yeah, and
anything.
a huge thing for me, it's never about clout, it's never about money. A big thing for me is connections.
Yeah,
Yeah,
for
making
sure.
making
100%,
personal connections with
1000%.
people.
Yeah.
I mean, you can ask anyone who's worked with me or who has commissioned me or hired me for whatever it is. um I'm definitely not the best editor, I'm not the best at whatever I do, but number one, I hustle. If
Mm-hmm.
I tell you it's going to be done, it's going to be done.
Hmm.
If I tell you, hey, I haven't really, I'll be transparent. I'm going to be honest, I haven't started on the project, and at least
Yeah,
I
Yeah.
hustle. I learn. I'm very
Yeah.
teachable. So if I don't know it, I will tell you, but I will also go out of my way to learn whatever it is
Yeah.
you
Yeah.
ask me to do. Um, and also just I'm personal.
Yeah. Yeah.
Making those personal connections with people. At the end of the day, people aren't looking for you could throw as much money as you want at someone who's super, super talented, who's super great at what they do. And I'm not saying that's a bad thing, but you just want reliability at the end of the day. Yeah, you
Yeah.
might take a hit on the quality of whatever it is, but as long as that person's going to have it done,
Yeah.
the next day or the day after that or whatever,
Yeah.
that reliability is huge. And that's not even just the gaming industry. That's not just Fortnite.
Yeah.
That's
Yeah. Yeah.
everywhere.
Well, no, I
With
can
General
definitely,
concept,
I
yeah.
can definitely, I mean, I can definitely second that. I mean, it being in org management now,
Mhm.
like I would rather have someone who has a great potential, great foundation, and that I feel like I actually want to work with because they're a good person and I want to develop them into something, than someone who's super talented but has a terrible attitude, not easy to work with. Like, and
Yeah,
I've come across my fair share of both. I mean, there are people out there who I'm like, yeah, honestly, I wish I could pay you more than this pro, because this guy just views it as a paycheck, or just kind of is here to do
Mhm.
his crap half-assed and get gone. And
Yeah, definitely.
I mean that I would much rather develop someone who has the good foundation, where I'm like, I feel confident putting this person out, and making them representative of me and the brand and whatever they're supposed to represent, than these
Mhm.
people who are not doing it
Yeah.
for the right reasons. So you got into production. You saw Fortnite as a business opportunity pretty quickly, and capitalized on it as such. So you built up and built your name and got it out there, which is huge. Networking is awesome.
Mhm.
Like, get out there,
Yeah,
get on Twitter,
for
like
sure.
whatever you're trying to do, whether it's editing or content or whatever. Like, please get out there. But how did like orgs really start coming with you, and then how did you end up eventually on Dig?
Yeah, so it's actually kind of funny. This is a really good segue. Like I said before, a big part of my brand and what I do is connections and
Mm-hmm.
networking, meeting
Yeah.
people, making personal connections with them. Almost every single opportunity I've gotten has been from a connection I've made.
Yeah, yeah.
So,
Right.
if I were to tell someone in the comm who's just getting started, wants to start, making money or whatever it is,
Mm-hmm.
make connections, talk to
Yeah.
those people.
Yep.
If you go to IRL events, oh my lordy
Yep.
lord,
That's
like
the best
Yep.
way to segue. That's the
talk
best
to
way to
those
segue it.
people,
Yeah.
Yeah.
pick their brain. I mean, unless they're a stuck up, nobody, which they don't deserve opportunities in the first place. I mean, there's so many people who would love to share their knowledge and,
Yep.
share their expertise of whatever it is.
Yep, we've talked about
Um,
the land environment a lot, because it is. I mean, my start got from Invitational. I met Bronus
mhm.
and Foxman, and then that domino effect got me basically every opportunity I've had since.
Yeah,
I
exactly.
mean, and then like other connections have started to come in from the years that I've been doing content creation, and now I'm working with
Mhm.
people that I haven't talked to in a long time, or like whatever. But it's absolutely like those names will come back up.
Oh yeah,
And again,
exactly.
it speaks to, like, if you leave the proper legacy, right? If you leave the proper impression on people, that then when your name is up there, or their name is up there in a few years, all of a sudden they'll remember, oh hey, that guy was really easy to work with. He was super nice. Like, oh,
Mhm.
let's get him on this project. And and I've had plenty of
Oh yeah,
opportunities come
absolutely,
from that. But yeah, the land
absolutely.
environment, especially, like if you can get to any of the dream hacks or any of the lands that are going on, everyone's ego is a little bit lowered. Everyone feels a little bit more like safe and comfortable and whatever. And
Yeah, face
because
to
they're
face is a lot different than if you were to
mhm.
just send a dry DM to someone.
Yeah.
Yeah, no,
100%.
exactly.
100%.
No, I mean, you're
100%.
you're looking at a human being, and
Yeah,
it's hard to
exactly.
remove that. And they're, I mean, I hate to say, but like all of the people who do have egos online, their power is kind of stripped away on land, because a
Yeah,
lot of them are really uncomfortable in a
Yeah.
person to person like environment. So even if
yeah,
they want to like ego you and say no or whatever, a lot of the time they won't. And once you break that ice a
yeah.
little bit, a lot of them are really good conversations. Like I've had
Oh
people
yeah,
where I'm like, oh
for
yeah, it
sure.
was really awkward. Like you could tell they didn't really want to talk to people, but as soon as like we got a few minutes into the conversation, like they eased up and they're like, oh, like this person's cool. So it allows you to get past barriers that you wouldn't otherwise online, and that
Oh yeah,
um
definitely.
and that can create so many opportunities. I mean, there are so many talented people out there in every category and job and niche in the scene, that just haven't gotten
Mhm.
their opportunity because they keep getting egoed, or they haven't had that right moment. But yeah, no, absolutely,
Yeah,
the land experience. But anyway,
yeah.
continue
But
with what you were
I,
saying. I just wanted to.
yeah. So it's actually funny. I mean, of course, I was editing highlight videos for the longest time just for
Mhm.
friends, and then I was like, I really wanted to get into the org scene. I saw number one profitability, but also I've been a huge fan of like teams. Like I've been in a couple comm teams, and never really an organization per se, where people were under contract,
Yeah.
etc. But like teams, like comm teams, you know, fun, like friend groups, that type of thing. And I've always been a huge fan. I was like, okay, this can be scaled. So, you know, I was looking for teams, like basically I was one of those kids who like grind for a team. I looked and I came across a team called TNA. They're not a thing anymore, but this is when they had just started. They're Team New Age, and they signed Reverse 2K, Day, Marrow, all those people, and I was like, this looks sick. So I was like, okay, and then they had a TNA RC coming out, and I was like, okay, like let me rev this up, let me get my hone my editing skills, go crazy. And keep in mind, I had never edited a content video. And so I was strictly a highlight editor and a montage editor. And so that's what I kind of went in as. And then there was one time where they needed a video done, and both of their editors they had in-house were out of town or sick or couldn't do it, whatever. They DM'd me and were like, yo, you know how to edit content videos? And I was like,
you said, yep.
I said, yep, absolutely.
Yeah.
So guess what?
I will by the time I do it. Yeah.
Yeah, I pulled an all-nighter. I looked at countless YouTube video tutorials.
Nice. That's mental.
And so, you know, I pulled an all-nighter, got that video done. It was absolute garbage. They had to have like a lot of it changed and redone. But guess what? That was my foundation. That was my base. And that's where I built basically what I have today. And so I eventually got that video done, and it was to what they liked. And you can still look back. It's like the TNA Rewind 2021 or something like that. Or 2020.
I'll watch that later. I gotta watch it just to see.
It's not my best work. I'm not
looking back at your early work is a very humbling experience.
I mean, do that for fun sometimes, bro. Like I'll see my old videos and like, yo guys.
I look at clips of me from 2-something years ago, and I'm like, there's no way this is the same person. Like this is embarrassing.
It's crazy. But and then I mean they like I don't know why, but they ended up commissioning me like a couple more times, and I did the work. I mean, I got better and better over time, and I started working with like aggro and teams like that, where it's like, you know, I mean, aggro paid pretty well too, and that was whenever they were still huge in the comm. So I did stuff for them. I did stuff for TNA, and then out of nowhere, I saw on Twitter. This is actually kind of crazy because this is the very few times where actually like commenting on a tweet actually got you commissions. It doesn't usually work like that. But someone from Endless, I'm not sure if you remember what Endless was.
But Day was on Endless.
Day, Reverse 2K, Marrow. You know, they had like they had like Pixel Palm. You know,
it was like a little plus sign, right? It was the plus sign.
It was like a cross, but like it had like the Endless, you know, the figure 8 in it. I mean, it was super sick. But one of the guys who was in charge of the content there tweeted out, "Hey, I need an editor." And I remember one of my friends, I mean, they had already paid one of my other editor friends to do, you know, they paid ahead of time to do like 3 or 4 videos or whatever. I was like, let me know whenever you're done paying for him, like I'll do this. And he was like, okay, bet. And his name was Chris, Ape Chris. I'm not sure if you know who that is. He's the guy. If you ever seen the viral TikTok where it's like Addison Rae is dancing, and he's like, whoop, 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 whoop.
Oh wait, I think I know what you're talking about. I think I know exactly.
He screams. He just screams. That's his thing. He's jacked and he screams. And he's like, Addison, there's Addison, whatever. I'm getting off on a tangent, but it was that guy. And oh man, I love Chris so much. He's so funny. But he gave me a chance. He was like, I got you. I'll let you know whenever we're done with their videos. I got you. Then whenever they were done with that cycle of videos that they'd pay the other editor, he told me, he was like, hey, I got a video. Here it is. Do your best. It was a content video. It was like Pixel versus Parm. Whoever wins joins Endless. They ended up both joining Endless, and I kid you not, gave it to me at like 5 or 6 p.m. the night before. I had it done the next morning.
Wow.
I literally I didn't want anything else in life except to like edit that video. So I got that done, and he was like, damn bro, like you are crazy. and he saw the work ethic. Even though it might not have been the best quality video, it was like the work ethic that was there and the reliability. So he was like I want you on the team. Like I need you here. So I joined that team. I got really involved with Endless. You know, if you know I don't know if you guys know anything about Endless, but like it ended up being like a scam org. Like it was like this whole thing. I'm pretty sure like I just found this out from one of my friends that was in Endless a couple weeks ago, but like the owner was like a drug dealer or something.
Oh wow.
And,
Yeah.
like, yeah.
Wow.
So,
That sounds about right for the Fortnite scene. That's pretty on par. Yeah.
So yeah, that whole thing happened. I got paid for what I was, but only because they had like other people in the org that were actually credible had access to the PayPal and paid me. So there was people who were out thousands of dollars.
Well, wasn't it also because of like editing? You get, I don't know about editors on certain organizations, like with Endless.
Oh yeah, I got paid per video.
Yeah, paid per video, paid up front.
Yeah.
So I got paid up front. I wouldn't have accepted it if I didn't. So
yeah,
I got paid. I was fine with Endless, but you know that whole thing went down. We all left, it parted ways, whatever. And I was kind of doing my own thing for a while. I still had a couple clients. I edited for Fam. I'm not sure if you know.
Like OT Fam? Yeah.
He has like 200 or 300 or 400K now, but he was like, dude, I really want to start doing content now.
He's just montages now. Right now, he's still montages.
Yeah,
right?
he just does montages now, but there was a good stretch there for a couple of months where he was like, I
He's
want
doing
to do
content.
content. Yeah. So I mean, we had videos 200, 300, 400K views like easy.
Yeah.
Like that was like for an edit that wasn't even that good, and it wasn't like it was low quality, but he was like going crazy. And so I worked with him for a little bit. I did work for that. I think I edited a couple more videos for TNA, kind of did my own thing. And then I was like, okay, this is kind of getting stale. I was editing. I'd been editing for so long. You know, this is at the point where I've been editing for a couple years nonstop. You know, getting videos like 3-4 videos every single week, and like, you know, doing that type of thing. So I was like, okay, this is getting kind of stale. Like, I know I can keep doing this. I know I can, but I don't know how much longer I can. So then I started looking into other things that were profitable that I could really like hone my skills and that translate. Well, I had already, you know, I'm editing. I understand retention. That was one of the first things I studied whenever I started editing. How can I maximize retention on a video by editing? So I understood that concept. So then I started looking into production, which is what I do now. Content production, the whole shebang, like, you know, working with thumbnail designers, maximizing CTR, working with other editors to maximize retention, looking at the metadata, looking at the algorithm, looking at your niche and what's trendy in that niche, you know, all of that. I started looking into that, and I was like, there's a lot of information, and like, I'm down. Like, I want to do this. It's a lot of research, it's a lot of studying, but it's so profitable, and it's what people need. So I started looking into that, and I got my first opportunity from that, actually in Fusion. I'm not sure if you know what that organization, but they were huge a while back. They
still have Asian Jeff, right?
Yeah, they still have Jeff and TK and and like Poyo and Sphinx, or not Sphinx, but they have Poyo.
Yeah, Poyo,
they're still kind of in. They've gone a lot more towards like Spanish, Latin America. They're really successful in the Valorant scene in Latin America. So that's what they've been kind of they've been kind of focusing on, which is understandable. It's more profitable. They have more of a fan base in Latin America.
Right.
But at the time, they were still huge in Fortnite, and we were big in EU. And so I was like, I remember I DM'd. It was actually one of my friends from Endless. One of my friends, I got into Dignitas because of Endless. Another friend I got into Fusion because of Endless. Like, Endless was like, even though it ended up not working out the way I wanted it to, it was huge networking. Like, I got so many connections from that and met a lot of people. So one of my friends from Endless had joined Fusion because Fusion was looking to rebuild their management roster. And I asked him, I said, hey, like, I had been editing their videos as well. Prior, I wasn't really on the team, but I'd been editing their videos. And I understood the team, and I was like, hey, like, on top of editing, do you need like a content manager or like content producer? And he was like, okay, let me check. And then I remember like a couple days later, they'd had a meeting or whatever, and he was like, would you be willing to move to Virginia? And I was like, what the heck?
Yeah, that's crazy.
And I was like, I mean, it never ended up working out. I mean, they were planning on sending me out maybe in the future, but you know, they had someone else going out to the house because they had bought a house in Virginia, because that's where the servers were at that.
Right.
Yeah,
East.
point.
Yeah.
And but yeah, so we had a lot of opportunity for IRL content there too. But he was like, I was like, I don't know, because at the point
You're still in high school. I mean,
I was still
yeah,
16, 17.
yeah.
I was like in high school, and you know,
Yeah.
I'm not really looking to move to Virginia. So I told him like I mean, I can do remote work, but I can't like do any on-site stuff. So he was like, okay, let me talk to them about it, whatever.
Yeah,
So it ended up working out. I did join Fusion, and I was under contract for them for a bit. And you know, I worked with, you know, Bully and Frey and Stormy Right, all those people.
Yeah.
And you know, I really got to understand through that, even though I had just kind of started my content production journey.
Yeah.
I still, you know, I learned a lot of things. The biggest part, I understood the metadata, I understood the algorithm, and you know, the gaming niche and trends in that niche, but I really learned how to work with other people. You know, how to organize recording sessions, and how to work with people, which people, I don't think people give near enough credit for that type of thing.
No, they don't. And I want to talk about this, and then I want to actually like backtrack a little bit to something you said earlier. But yes, like, so I do content for PL. I'm like, they wanted like a face of the brand, because they didn't have like a consistent, like, you know, person that they could slap on everything. So that's me. I'm just the on-camera guy. They just point a camera at me and tell me what to do and shoot it. But so I'm in every team video. I do all the interviews, all of that stuff. Getting Fortnite pros and content creators to get anything done, to get to a scheduled recording session is the hardest thing I have ever done. Like, no troll.
Bad, bro.
It is. I'm like, okay. And I've gotten to the point, I had to learn this. It's not asking. You say, we have a recording session at this time. No. You're there. If you can't, like, if they can't, you'll hear a legitimate reason right then. They'll go, oh, I have this. Otherwise, I know they're lying to me, and I go, yeah, your contract's on the line. Here we go. Like, this is what we signed up for. But yeah, it getting them like 5 or 6 people all to one recording session is the most difficult thing I've ever done.
And dude, I work with Bugha, bro. It's literally Bugha. Like, if you think whoever you have is hard, bro, imagine working around the Bugha schedule, bro.
Yeah.
It's so bad.
No, but before we go too much further, I want to talk about something that you said earlier, because I've kind of had this idea floating around in my head for a while. You kind of talked about, like, you know, that experience that you had with, was it Endless, with the one where you were like basically like a little white lie, like, yeah, I know content editing. TNA. Yeah. I feel like a lot of esports is like that, where you just learn on the job. Like, you kind of like you have like an imposter syndrome. You like get somewhere and you're like, man, I don't really know how to do this. Like, I kind of do, but I'm willing to learn it. And you just kind of learn it on the job. And I actually I think it's really beautiful. I think it's a beautiful thing about esports. I mean, you get in a position either through connections or bullshit or whatever, and you just kind of learn as you go. It's like, it's this process of bettering yourself constantly at your craft, and you just kind of like, but I've found that that's where a lot, I mean, everyone that I've talked to in the scene is like, yeah, I just ended up somewhere and I learned the job because I was doing it. Like, it wasn't a, you know, I got a degree. I wasn't, you know, it's this place where you can be self-taught, and you just kind of end up in a place and you just like make the most of it. And it's whoever, you know, does a better job at capitalizing on that opportunity more than it is like experience or any of that stuff. But
I mean, it's really hit or miss with that kind of thing. Of course, you don't want to straight up lie and say you know how to do something that you don't, because in the end, like, it'll come to bite you, and like they'll figure it out pretty quick if you don't know how to do something that they ask you to do. And you say, oh yeah, I'm really good at it. It wasn't like I straight up lied to TNA and said, hey, I know, like, I'm the best at this of all time.
Right.
I told him, I said, hey, like, I know how to edit. I understand the concept of long form videos. I've just never done it before. And I was really transparent with them. I mean, like, I might have told them, like, I've done a couple like test work, and I'm comfortable doing it. But you know, luckily they were just starting out as an org, and they weren't too worried about finding and paying a whole bunch of money for someone who's like absolutely insane.
Top tier,
so okay, we really, and they, I mean, to be honest, they really had no other option. They really needed to get this video out, so they were like, okay, let's go for it. which I mean is a huge blessing looking back at it, because it's like, wow, that's really was the start of it.
It was a start.
Right.
But I would never tell someone to like straight up lie and say
No, and I'm not saying that either. I'm just saying a lot of people.
no.
It's like there's this the whole process of esports, because it's not an established industry, because you can't go get a degree, let's say, in content editing necessarily. You can't like, it's not something that there's 20 or years of industry standard that's been established where you can learn. It's we're creating the industry standard. We are learning these things, and the scene is so new and so forming. Like that's more what I was highlighting, is like we're in a position, and esports is so unique. A 14-year-old can pick a craft up. They go, I want to learn how to edit. And they start being self-taught, and they start just self-refining, and they create this experience and this they make themselves an asset where they could actually do this as a career. They're building a career from such a young age. I mean, I know with content, I'm like, I did a lot of performing arts growing up. And then I did some camera work. I've done some acting, like all of that. But, it was once we actually started, I got on the job and started recording and doing all these things. Like I've just learned through the process, and I've learned so much already, and I want to learn more and all that. So I just wanted to highlight that more.
Yeah, it reminds me of, I saw this one tweet. It was a while back, but someone had tweeted their sister had just graduated from college in like graphic design or motion design or something like that. And I mean, she showed off her like, it was like a portfolio intro video for like, commission me, that type of thing. I was like, and it wasn't bad. It was decent. It was good.
Yeah.
But I was just like, you went to college for that, number one, and number two, like that's something I see from a 14-year-old on
yeah. No, legitimately.
Like, it's kind of crazy.
Yeah, no, I mean, being self-taught, I mean, with all the tools that are out there now, with all the available information, like most things that are skills or trades can just be self-taught. I mean, you just sit down and, especially like with YouTube is like the vastest knowledge base that you have. I mean, you can go, like you said, you YouTube a bunch of content stuff. Like, I mean, you just, you're like, like I need to learn how to do this thing. I'll go look up a YouTube video on how to do it. Like,
I wish I could tell you, like, there is a set list of things you can learn and do in order to completely understand YouTube. Every video you upload is going to be a million views. Even Mr. Beast has his bad videos. Essentially the king of YouTube. It's this really like complex algorithm that you're consistently studying and you're consistently updating and learning more about it, and it changes too. It changes. So you can never fully understand everything.
I've heard like stories on like Mr. Beast spending like millions of dollars on one video and then being like, I don't like it, even if it's for like 2 minutes of the video. Like, I don't like it, and he just throws it out. That's how he's like.
Well, and he spent years. I mean, he spent years trying to deconstruct and reverse engineer the YouTube algorithm and I mean, like you talked about all these concepts, CTR and all of those things that that we study now and have data on are relatively new. I mean, yes, but I think the focus of them now that YouTube and content and esports has become more viewed as a viable career, there's really been this surge of focus on it, as we need to make this happen for our jobs. I mean, and so analyzing it and becoming a student of those data and being able to read them, is a really valuable thing that's only going to go up, because that's what stops content from being a shot in the dark. I think a lot of people just like, I have a gut feeling. And it's kind of, I mean, it reminds me a lot of Moneyball. Have you seen Moneyball with Brad Pitt, Jonah Hill, about the Oakland A's manager who started using statistics to draft his baseball players? And I mean, it revolutionized not just baseball, but all of sports, because nobody had thought to think of it from a statistics perspective. They were using non-tangibles. They were saying, like, this guy looks good. He's a franchise player, like whatever. They were using these things. But when they started using statistics, they were able to win for significantly less money. And I feel like esports is kind of going through the same like thing of like, we're not just feeling it out anymore. There are numbers and statistics and a science that you can study to be better at what you're doing, whether it's a creator or a pro or whatever.
YouTube, Twitch, these platforms, I mean, I'm not saying they're not lucrative, but they really can be, if you really put your mind to it and you really hone your niche and like you're the best at what you do. you can easily make millions of dollars. That's no doubt. But
Yeah.
just the versatility of it, and you could have a bad month and it could be really, really bad for your business.
Yeah.
That's why you see people like Mr. Beast and all these people, they Feastables, and you see Eric has his Pizzafy. And if anything, YouTube gives you the platform to
make a successful
transfer
business.
to transfer an audience onto something that is, you look at like, Feastables, people buy that, it's number one, it's candy. It's, you could buy it over and over again.
Yeah.
It's you eat it and then you like, oh, I like that.
We've talked about Epic Whales mouse pads a lot.
Yeah,
in that
exactly.
same concept. It's taking temporary fame and recognition and number. I mean, it's basically you're allowing your platform to do all of the hard work and the stuff for the marketing for a business. So you just make a good product. Your platform takes care of the marketing, and that's most of the job. Like, there are a lot of good products out there that have really shitty marketing, and they'll never be successful because of it. When you have something else that's carrying all of the weight of that, and you already have the market and the platform, all you have to do is make the product that you're marketing. Like, that's a much easier business model than the other way around. Oh, I have this product, I'm going to put it on Shark Tank, I'm going to try and get it out there, whatever. So we talked about that, like with Peterboss manager C-Mills. We had him on, and he talked about the same concept where one of his goals for all of his clients is to try and get a product that he can actually, start to advertise and use their platforms as marketing for it. And yeah, I mean, I think you talk about longevity and stability in the esports scene. We talked about that with orgs too. Orgs have not done a good job, honestly, of making something that can last when they don't have their famous player. I mean, like when you look at a Dig, if they don't have an Aussie, if they don't have a Bugha, I mean, take a look at like NRG. NRG has, I mean, they're not really in the Fort space, but let's say like, they dropped all that roster and then got a new roster, they'd have nothing left because all of it was dependent on the names that they had instead of the brand of the org itself. And that's, you need to make something that's long lasting. So we've talked about that concept a lot. I like that you brought that up.
And I feel like, with me being like on an organization, like it sucks to say, but yeah, you're completely right with this whole orgs have not been profitable since they started. With Dig, it's kind of a unique case where they're owned by companies that they're owned by the 76ers, and well, it's more than just that. I'm not completely sure how it works, and of course there's only so much I can say, but it's like a collective that they own more than just the 76ers. It's the Houston Rockets and the Washington Commanders and the Phillies, and like it's not just the 76ers. And they have access, we have access to people who are not necessarily in the gaming industry, but they know how marketing works. They understand, clothing. Like clothing is huge for Dig and the 76ers, Houston Rockets. That's a huge
jersey sales are one of the biggest points of profit of the NBA. I mean,
I couldn't tell you how much money Dig made from selling those jerseys, man. Like, especially whenever Bugha was onboarded, like getting that Bugha name on your back, it's like
I can see that.
Yeah. I mean, I remember the day LeBron announced his LA, they already had jerseys made, done, and they were in the store. I mean, they sold out in like less than an hour or something like that. I mean,
Philly's so high up in that standard because I mean, Embiid just won MVP, so that definitely boosted it a ton. Like these little kids looking up at them, like as role models.
So that's like a really special case where I don't think we're operating at a negative, but I do know 100 Thieves, NRG, like FaZe, even there a lot of them are operating at a negative, and it's like it's sad to see because the only reason these organizations are alive still and still being funded is because of the love for games. The sole fact that people love
you just saw Sen do the whole like their whole investor initiative thing, like the group investing the crowdfunding. I mean, it's like
I don't know how I feel about that.
Desperation is setting in, and a lot of it is esports had this big boom. And, I mean, I remember 2018 and 19, esports rose 118% as an industry. It grew 118% as an industry, which is for any industry, that's unprecedented numbers. I mean, we just haven't seen many things grow that quickly. But what happened was this flood of angel investors that all wanted to get into the space. They're like, oh, there's so much potential. There's so much money here. The industry's growing so quickly. And, we saw it in the last 2 years-ish. That money ran out. And now we're like, oh, crap, we're paying these massive salaries. We have 50, 60 people, on board, on orgs. Like, and, we talked about this with CMOs as well. No org has cracked the code yet to be a completely stable, like profitable, business where they're not going in the red and they're not having to bring in new investors every month or, whatever, where it's like they can actually operate on a green or even on a break even.
And that's why whenever, I propose, my services to an organization or a person, I say, hey, like, you see the profitability of YouTube. I could not only pay for what we spend on the YouTube, but in a matter of, months, years, however long it takes, we could also, help fund other endeavors that you have for your organization. So it's like, that's a really good selling point for me. And that's why I wanted to get into it, because gaming could die, organizations could die, but guess what? YouTube is still going to be there. Twitch is still going to be there. Kick, whatever. Twitch, YouTube, the TikTok, their Instagram, they're all going to be there. And they're still going to be, you look at the TikTok creator fund. Like, I'm not sure if you're aware of that.
Yeah.
I'm talking millions of dollars just being showered on these people.
Dude, it's so unfortunate, especially because like it's not available here in Canada. Like creator fund is so not here in Canada, bro. So the only thing
that's crazy.
Your TikTok is you could grow your brand, but if you're really trying to make money off of it, it's not possible.
Just don't live in Canada.
You got to do what every other half famous TikToker does and move to LA, and then people forget about you.
Start a TikTok house.
Oh gosh, content houses, man, content houses.
That's its own thing. I don't want to talk about that, man.
Wait. I'm interested though. Like, what's your view on it? I mean, as a content producer, do you think? Okay, one, obviously, I have my criticisms of how they've been done. But do you think there's a possible way that it could work?
100%, 110%. I think you have to get a group of people who have great personalities. They understand content. And they're hungry. Right.
Yeah.
If you get a single person that is lazy in a content house or that doesn't want to study, analytics or they, I'm a firm believer. If you want to start a content house, have everything in house. Never commission an editor who's away. Have an editor fly out to that house, have them be your videographer, teach them on a camera, have them edit in-house, know exactly what you want.
I like that. Yeah.
We thought about this. Yep.
And then also like I've worked with content houses who are clueless in algorithm, in CTR, in retention. Like, oh my Lord, bro. I could rant about this all day.
I think one of the only positive examples that I've seen that has withstood the test of time is FaZe Muse House, the social sellouts, and I've highlighted them a couple times before because, and I think one of the biggest things that I would say, and it goes along with what you were saying, is that complacency, you need to be consistently producing content that is taking advantage of the opportunity that is having all that content creators in a house. They do like. All of them, especially in the Fortnite scene, oh my gosh, they're so bad because they'll buy this ultra expensive house and they'll do like a really good first video, maybe even the first month they're really pumping out really good content, and then they stop, and then they never make one again. Chronic just did one. It's not a Fort thing. They did a little bit smarter. They did a group. They already did an existing content group, and I think
I'm really close with a lot of like the internal management with Chronic, and I think what they're doing has a lot of potential. They just have to really like study some things and execute in a specific way in order for it to work.
Well, and I think they're going for a niche. I think they're going for a niche that is a lot more loved right now. I mean, you take who's been big on Twitch recently. You take Amp, that whole group, living together and all of that. I think they're kind of trying to recreate their own and get that Kyson, like, Aiden Ross type feel. And I think it's going to be successful because of that. I think if you get people who are, I think a lot of content, and I think a lot of the content that people enjoy, especially on Twitch, is people living the life that the viewers wish they could live. So, people doing crazy stuff, having these crazy parties, doing these crazy things and pulling off stunts.
And I mean, you look at, even on I look at everything from a YouTube perspective, just because that's my career, that's what I do. You know, Twitch wise, I think, you know, the Kai Cenat, the Aiden Ross, the you know, the Duke Dennis, like those people, like that niche is huge. But on YouTube, you know, you even apply that Loaf, Balin Levine, Danny Duncan, like Canel Joseph, like those people, the public pranks, that's huge. And that's looking like what Chronic is doing. And you know, with the whole public, you know, that type of thing. I'm not a huge fan of it just because, you know, you kind of get into, you have to do it a specific way. I think Balin Levine does it well. Danny Duncan, the people who are really big do it well. But you know, you get those small TikTokers who just annoy people in the street, and it's like, what are you doing, bro? Like, just stop, man.
No, I mean, production size, right? I mean, you talk about how much you have to put in. I mean, we talk about like Mr. Beast production, literally millions of dollars for a video. I mean, it's like it matters a lot. And you talk about like these pranksters as well. The scale at which they're doing things matters a lot. So it's high risk, high reward with those types of videos. I mean, you have to, you know, you have to be willing to pour in a lot. And
I can't tell you how many projects I've started and I'm like super passionate about it. I'm like, dude, this is I've done my research, I've done everything, and this is gonna go crazy just for it to like right. And then also on the vice versa, where it's like, let's do this as a filler video, it's you know, whatever, and then like out of the water, and it's like, are you kidding me, bro? Like it's so hard to judge like what's going to be relevant and what's not relevant anymore, and what's dying down in searchability. And but it's all about just being active.
No, for sure. So I don't even remember where we left off getting on that whole tangent.
I think one thing I was going to ask, because I don't know if we actually cleared it, is when was the exact timing that Dignitas actually picked you up? Do you remember?
So it was maybe December of last year, January of this year.
Okay.
So I haven't been on there.
Oh, so it's recent. It's like
it's been about 6-7 months. Or maybe a little bit longer, like 7 or 8, but not too long. But they needed, because they had someone prior that did their YouTube and it was doing well for what, you know, the resources they had, but they really wanted to upscale it and they saw the potential in it, and they were like, okay, we need to restructure our content team. And right now it's me, one other guy, and then we have like an editor and a designer, so it's about 4 or 5 of us working on the YouTube. So it's, I mean, we've been doing super well. I mean, we've had a couple slow months, but I mean, for a good time there, we were having easy, you know, 50 to 100K views. We had one that did almost 400K views. So, you know, it's we've hit this stability point where it's like, okay, we can kind of expect, you know, when you're kind of just starting, it's hard to like research, and it's kind of hard to dictate how much a video is going to get. But once you kind of get into the swing of it, it's easy to you know, upscale from that. So we've been doing well.
So how would you, I mean, we kind of touched on this. How would you describe working with Fortnite creators and pros? The average experience.
It depends. So of course I don't want to, like, you know, talk bad on anyone's name and out specific people. But, you know, there's definitely some people that are harder to work with than others. That's just natural. That's who people are. I understand that. That's why I try to be as understanding as possible. If someone has something to do, understandable. Well, usually what happens is, you know, with us having about 8 to 10 creators, including the creators and the pro players, we try to get a recording session. I try to split it up as best as possible. So we'll maybe have half for one video, half for a separate video we record, or you know, have as many people as we can for one video, and then maybe have like a individual recording session for someone else who couldn't make it. So I try to work around their schedules. As bad as that sounds, it's just the reality of it. It's how it has to be. You know, with people like Bugha, Kanata, Dukes, you know, people like that who, you know, Bugha, for instance, you know, we're like, oh, we're recording Monday. Everyone else is good for it. Oh, I'm at an Xfinity in Canada. You know, I'm at an event for like 3 days. So we'll just let me know when you get back, and we'll schedule something then. But you know, it's that type of thing. Just work around with them. And a lot of people, or a lot of them, some of them, not all of them, but some of them, you know, want to get out of the recording sessions as fast as possible. Just want to get it over with. Others, you know, especially like Aussie Antics, like, I love that man to death, bro.
Yeah.
I love Aussie so much.
Well, Aussie gets it, you know.
He understands it.
He understands it's beneficial for the org. He understands it's beneficial for him if the videos do well for the org. I mean, he's a little bit more mature, grown up. He's gonna understand those concepts of
no,
like
100%.
mutual benefits.
And even like even the people that are like that I've worked with before, it'll be if I ask for something, it'll be like 1-2 days before I get it because they're just busy. They're naturally busy.
Yeah.
Aussie, he can run a 12-hour subathon. Right after he's done with that subathon, he'll record something for you and he'll have it to you by that night. So it's like, he's crazy, and I think that was definitely, besides maybe Bugha, that was definitely one of the best signings Dig has made.
For sure.
No, 100%.
I mean, he's a lot of their strategy. I mean, like you have all of your all-stars, but the real like concept behind it is, now we have the biggest watch party guy watching our players. It's so that he can literally say, while he has 20,000 people watching him, that's my org mate. That's my org mate.
I can tell you, like, Dig, we've been a thing for almost 20 years. Like, the people here, they know what they're doing, especially from a marketing standpoint, from a contractual standpoint, from signing people all the way to working with player morale and making sure everyone's happy. Like, they understand it. Like, if it
100%.
Well, I mean, even you take the whole studio that they gave Aussie for this past grands. I mean, God. He is the all-star. He's the central piece of everything. He's the thing that ties it all together, because pros on their own are not as valuable to an org as people would think. You think, you have this massive name, but it's like you have Aussie, the foundation of like Fortnite competitive viewership, and now he's saying, Bugha's my org mate. Duke's is my org mate. Like, he's watching them, he's highlighting them, he's the whole Dig Win thing and the Mike and Ike sponsorship. Like, it's genius. It really is.
The crazy thing about that viewing party, it was really, really well done. We had our production team there. I unfortunately didn't make it, but we had other people. Dignitas did not pay a single dime for that whole production.
Yeah.
Really?
It was all Mike and Ike.
It was all Mike and Ike.
Mike and Ike paid. Well, we might have paid for a couple portions here and there, but definitely the majority of it did not come out of our pocket. Yeah. So in terms of profitability and stuff, like, it's these people like at Dig, they know what they're doing. They have experience. They have experience. So it was a crazy production too. And like, I was put on the Mike and Ike account. Like, I was the Mike and Ike Twitch account.
Really? Nice.
This party was happening.
Nice.
And I had a blast on that. I was like ripping into our players and like.
No, I was watching some of that stream, and it really was. It was good banter. It was good. That was awesome.
And like, I was at one point, I was like, it was like Acorn dies or something. I was like, well, it looks like he's not getting his own flavor. Like that.
No, that's. I mean, it like.
But that was a blast. I love that.
Yeah, for sure.
Well, okay, so leading into talking about Fortnite creators and pros, I mean, this kind of takes us into lands and stuff because I mean, Copenhagen's coming up sooner than we think now, sooner than we imagine. With like land media and like the process of getting equipment to an international land, especially for like an org like Dignitas, it's huge when it comes to these things. What is like the process of getting that equipment to an international land? Like,
so
how much you have to pay, how much you have to fly it out, like what is it like?
Unfortunately, like, I don't really have experience flying international and just transporting equipment. I've been to different events and stuff and transporting equipment in the States, but I haven't necessarily had experience transporting it across an ocean or whatever. So I don't really know the process. But I do know in the US it's fairly simple. I mean, you just pack, usually you pack it separate from whatever else you have, camera, maybe microphones if you need to have that, whatever it is. And just because they usually come with their own cases, or you can buy separate cases for those. And, you just run it through normal, TS and, the scanners or whatever they have at the airport. So just transporting it is fairly simple. You just got to worry about not breaking, and it's really not that complicated. International, I don't know if it's different. I would assume it's the same. I'm working on my passport right now.
I just assume more fee then, if anything.
Yeah, probably. It's probably because you pay for the extra bags or whatever it is.
Yeah.
You never want to pack especially like cameras and microphones. You never want to pack them with everything else you have. Not just asking to break them unless you have it really well packed. You usually want to transport them separate. So you probably have to pay extra like bag fees and and check fees and stuff like that. So I would assume that's normal for
So
play, but
so for like land media and stuff, like what like the planning behind it? There's probably a lot of it, isn't there?
yeah, so it's different. I know DreamHack is a lot more open than, let's say, like an official Fortnite
Yeah.
I
event.
think I saw
So
Reno
like,
tweet about it, right? Reno tweeted about it recently about land media.
Well, they're gonna
I think
allow org
yeah,
media
yeah.
back
yeah,
at
so I
World
think
Championship. Yeah.
how it was before, when I was in Fusion, whenever they had the LAN in, I can't remember where it was. I don't it was a LAN though.
Was it
It was
last
a
year?
grand finals. Yeah, it was last year. It was
Was
like
it? It
October,
wasn't
September last
invitational.
year.
Is that
Invitational,
November?
yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
No?
I think it was
Okay.
invitational. Yeah,
Probably.
so I was in Fusion at that point, and we had some people go, and they were very, very strict on
Yeah.
no cameras backstage.
Mm.
If you look at every video that an org produced for their players for that invitational, all of it was from the perspective of the audience.
The audience.
Yeah. Yeah.
You had to record like behind a certain gate and stuff, so they were really strict on that.
Yeah.
Whereas DreamHack, like, you can literally go
You can just
anywhere.
walk around.
Yeah.
Yeah, you
Yeah,
walk around with
DreamHack,
it.
you're with the players, and
Yeah.
Aussie, they literally paid Aussie to stream their event, so he was there as well. So like, he literally walked around with a backpack cam and like started streaming
Right.
stuff.
Right.
So
Right.
His cam broke like some way midst through, right?
yeah, something like that. We had to get that fixed, but yeah, the planning that goes into it, there's fairly a lot. It depends on, so for DreamHack, it's only a weekend. So
Yeah.
there's
Yeah.
really, realistically, there's no time to record anything exterior from the actual event. So the way we've been structuring our in-person LAN stuff, so we do these things called digumentaries. It's a play on words for a
Yeah.
documentary.
Yeah. Right.
Okay.
So we do kind of like a, just we do a recap of the whole week, and
Right.
we do the documentary-esque style of videos where it's like, have a structure, a plot line, and then have a story to tell throughout that, maybe build, have a climax, and then have a denouement and stuff like that.
That's the
Yeah.
thing that Ozzy does, right? Ozzy's the one that is that the thing that Ozzy records like for the Dignitas YouTube videos?
No.
Okay.
We did that all, like, I edited those videos,
Right.
and it was all recorded on, we have people on staff that go to those events and have cameras and shoot
Okay.
stuff. A lot of it is just like them sitting behind the person who's about to win a game and
yeah.
like recording their gameplay.
Yeah.
I told them, like, hey, get some more like player interviews, get some more like storytelling involved, but
Yeah. Yeah.
number one, it's such a noisy space. There's so much
Yeah.
noise going
Yeah.
on.
Yeah.
I remember Aussie complaining about the CS:GO AKs, like,
Yeah,
the
yeah.
noise that's played throughout that.
Yeah.
And then also just there's so many people. It's hard to
Yep.
isolate
Yeah.
a situation or a person and like have not something else interfere or someone else interfere.
It being
So
such an open land is so accessible, so
Yeah,
it's nice. But at
it's
the same time,
so-
there's so many.
It has its strengths and weaknesses. I
Yeah.
think to shoot content there, it is more of a struggle than, if someone else had like a media day or something that's a little bit more isolated. You look at like
Yeah.
NRG. VCT is huge for content.
Oh,
You look at
yeah,
the VCT documentaries that like NRG does, 100 Thieves, like, it's so good. The storytelling is spectacular. The
Yeah.
pacing, the plot line, it's all done super well.
Right.
So it's Fortnite is different in terms
Yeah.
of how you want to structure stuff.
Yeah.
So if it's like a thing where it's like a whole week of it's kind of spread out and they want their players for the whole week, which has happened before, like with the World Cup and everything. We try to do some external stuff. We'll maybe do like a content video, IRL content video we thought of maybe a while back, and try to shoot that as best we can.
Yeah.
But in terms of when we went to Edinburgh, Scotland, or Edinburgh, I don't know how to pronounce it,
Yeah.
but Scotland. When we went to Scotland, I mean, we have like a 40-minute documentary up, and it's edited super well. And I
Yeah.
didn't do it because I was not finna go through 40 hours of footage. I'm just gonna be completely honest, and I was not about to put that together. So we had the actual videographer edit that, so he knew the footage,
Okay.
he knew where they went at specific times.
Right.
It's just a whole lot easier process. It
Yeah.
it saves
Makes
time
sense.
for me going through stuff and figuring out how to structure it. So we had him do that, and he did a spectacular job on it. Unfortunately, I don't think it did that well because you think Fortnite kids' attention spans is definitely not 40 minutes.
Right.
And that's really not the audience and the niche we're trying to hit. So it did well. It did okay for the numbers that it did, but definitely not one of our pop-up videos, which is unfortunate. But you can't really do anything about that.
Yeah.
But yeah, lands are different. I think it's a great opportunity if you go to a LAN and want to shoot content there. I know short form is very, very. You want to do short form, like go there, interview some players, interview Bugha or whatever. Do that. That's awesome. But in terms of long form, trying to actually structure a video idea, we just go with record the weekend. Really laid back, not too much pressure on figuring out where players are, sending them here, doing that. So yeah, it's just different.
That's good. So like so the Dignitas content plans, when it comes down to that, like I would assume as much as the planning for how much you gotta take over there is also there's a lot of planning done for the content you're actually gonna shoot over there, especially for something like I know for other orgs like Elite when they did the DreamHack thing, they had that IRL video where Jamie, you were at the house, right, when they shot that.
Like I wasn't there when they shot it, but I talked to Simos and they they got the whole thing done. They got this Airbnb that they all stayed at, and then they shot 2 videos back to back.
We had an Airbnb, and we had all. I think we had to get 2 Airbnbs, which I think was our main problem. Our players were split up, and like the thing about that, like Elite had maybe 2-3 players that like NPen, Pump, and like maybe a couple others that were there. We had 8. We had 8, 7, 8, 9 there. And Edgy wanted to be in the videos, and it's just this whole thing where it's hard to orchestrate with that. Not saying it as an excuse. We should have. And I told them, I said, hey, like if you have time, like try to get something, something other than the actual event recorded. But it was just like, we tried to do one video, and then Acorn wanted to go eat food, and Bugha, somebody had asked Bugha to go do something over here, so he went to go do a media day for DreamHack and like stuff like that. So and especially we have like 2-3 days. Like that's all we got. So it's just so hard, such a time crunch, and we couldn't really figure something out. So
writing it on paper definitely seems easier said than done on IRL for sure. Because
Yeah.
I can see that, like, I've never been to a LAN. I was supposed to go to DreamHack, but it didn't end up working out. But there was a lot of plans for me to like shoot content, like in general, like with pipeline and all that. But it just didn't end up working out. Not me going, but I think even going there, like there was just a lot to do when it came to like our podcast, and it came to like the pros actually like making finals for DreamHack and stuff. Like it was a lot to do when it came to the timing of it.
I did not stop moving that whole weekend, bro. I mean, we were It was watch party anytime the heats was going on, and we had another person, like I was doing watch party on the stream. We had another person running to do camera shots, get B-roll and all of that of gameplay and point of views, and we had people running, and then and when you're management of an org like that's smaller, like pipeline, like it turns into I'm getting waters, I'm running jerseys, I'm like I'm doing everything. So
we had people doing that even for the big orgs, like people doing that.
So but it was we did not stop moving. We were interviews or watch parties or podcasts or something the whole time. Pictures. I mean,
during Dallas, or it might have been San Diego. It was either San Diego or Dallas. In the middle of a game, Dukes was dead. Edgy was still playing. He texted the group chat and he's like, dude, can I have Starbucks? so Harry actually went, and he said, I got you. What do you want? And he sent him this whole like cappuccino, macchiato, chocolate, whatever. And it's like, he got it, and he got it to his chair like 15 minutes later. So it was like, even stuff like that. That was really funny. I'm sitting there looking at the stream at San Diego, and then I see in my phone, I'm like, wait, why is Dukes want a Starbucks drink, bro? Like, what is he doing?
So, like, I mean, kicking back to like what we were talking about before with the whole like the TikTok creator stuff and whatnot, it's like one of the questions I have for, especially for like someone that's in production like you, Hevn, why is it that like compared to like before, at least like before I saw this as a viable option, why is it that people can't just blow off of YouTube alone anymore?
You see a trend with a lot of these channels where they have like a whole team behind them, like a production team. You have a videographer and an editor and a designer, whatever.
Yeah.
Whereas before it was like, you had one person who had a dream, and like, I think that's still possible. I think it's a lot harder than it
Yeah.
used to be. It
Yeah.
used to be, I mean, I'm not saying it was ever easy, but it was a lot
Oh, yeah.
easier in terms of discoverability.
Yep.
Low quality videos were a lot more accepted.
Mhm.
And
Well, you just have
you know,
lack of saturation at that point, right? I
yeah,
mean, it's the same thing
exactly.
that's happened
And
to Twitch. Is
a
you
lot
have
of,
this flood of people now that, I mean, I if I remember the statistic correctly, like you have an average of 21,000 people streaming Fortnite on Twitch at any given moment. So it's like if you're not one of the top people getting
Yeah.
600-700 viewers, you're just going to be buried. I mean, you're never going to be seen. There's no discoverability there.
yeah.
And the same thing is happening. And because of that saturation, quality is had to up. It's pushed the direction of the whole industry and the bar, like to be noticeable, to be accepted. It's pushed that so much higher than it used to be because so many people are competing with you now. You need to make high quality instead of just being consistent or just whatever.
Yeah, and that's one thing I have to take into consideration whenever working with a client. For instance, for like fam, I can do I paid a Fiverr coach $5 to coach me, and then I like, that type of thing where it's like, oh, act like I'm bad, and then he's like trying to teach me, and then I'm like really good at the game. We knew that would do hundreds of thousands of views because it's fam. Like he already has a platform. He's known for montages. We tried to tie in a lot of montage content to the like the actual long form, so that way viewers are still familiar with the concept.
Yeah.
Whereas, working with smaller creators who have a vision and like, hey, I have an idea, you have to get a lot more creative. You have to put in a lot more time, which it's low risk, but well, it depends on if they want to pay money for someone else to do it. It's a high risk because you're actually outputting money without any return at first.
Yeah.
So it's a high risk, high reward. If you're doing it yourself, you're not really, you learn how to edit, you learn how to design, you have a vision, you know how to record stuff with a camera. That's more of a low risk, high reward type of thing, but it takes a lot more time.
Dude.
Right.
You have to put in a lot more effort and just a lot. You have to really, it has to be a passion. It can't be a hobby. It has to be a passion.
I swear the hardest thing to do in a YouTube video, and I've been noticing it like so much more recently because I've been trying them, like different variations of them more, is intros in the beginning of a video. It is so hard.
Oh yeah.
Like, cause like I try to make them as entertaining as possible. I try to make them like as quick as I can with getting the idea out. But it gets so hard because you have to think of different variations of it. You got to think about the retention. You have to think about so many different things on how many people would stay and actually care enough.
Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah, because
it's your hook. I mean, it's just like, I mean, you compare it to like an essay. It's like you have to, in an essay, you have to get somebody's attention within the first sentence or two. You cannot like, and YouTube the same. I mean, you have the thumbnail to even get them willing enough to click, and then you still have further convincing to do if they're going to make it past 3 seconds or whatever. It's like you have, there's so much that goes in. I mean, I remember like hearing these statistics of like, if you use you in the first X amount of seconds of your YouTube video, like the word you, people are X more likely to click, and you have all of these psychological factors and statistics and things that go into what is going to get somebody to watch the rest of a video.
Yeah, and then you can go into the whole, there's so many different factors. You have to really, a big part of it is understanding your niche and then the people in those niche, not only the other creators, but also the people who want to watch that kind of stuff.
Right.
So I know for gaming, like, I'm really big into like color theory. So using specific colors and thumbnails and the concept of association and recognizability, stuff like that, where it's like you don't think about that off the bat, but once you really study it, it's like, wow, that's crazy.
Right.
And then that like first 30 seconds is arguably the most important part of the video. That's the make or break of a video. If you don't have a good first 30 seconds, you're not going to have a video. You're not going to have someone who, and then, you have a really good 30 seconds. How do we keep that viewer? How do we keep them watching? What else can we do to, max out that retention as much as possible? And then, you really have to understand the process of someone scrolling on their YouTube. They see your thumbnail, they see the title. Will they click on it? Okay.
Right.
No. If the answer is no, like you see it, you're like, okay, I'm not confident about this. What can we change? Yes, they click on it. okay, how do we keep that viewer?
Yeah.
How do we keep them watching? What can we do to maximize? It sounds simple, but it's not simple
Right.
at all.
It's easier
It's
said than done, bro.
it's a
So much
lot easier said than done.
Yeah.
You look at oh man, I love this comparison. You look at movie theaters, right? And movies.
Mm.
You have someone, of course you have the trailer, you get, posters done for the movie. You
Yep.
grab someone's attention. You have the idea,
Yeah.
but you don't have it fully. YouTube, that part is similar with the YouTube and the movies, where it's like, okay, you have the attention grabber, you want to make sure they're interested,
Yeah.
but you pay for a ticket, you go into that movie theater, you're not walking out. Who's walking out in the middle of the movie? I don't like that. I don't like this movie. Let me walk out. YouTube video, you click one button, you're done.
Yeah.
You don't have to worry about that video. You don't watch it. You might watch it again. I don't know. But usually the viewer does not go back to that video and you lost a viewer. So a movie does not have to work as hard to keep that person watching the movie as a YouTube video. So in that
it's
sense,
getting someone to buy a ticket, which if you're running the analogy, that's the same as clicking on the video, and that costs them nothing, so there's no buy-in.
Why,
I mean,
movies, yes, they spend millions of dollars in the actual movie, but they spend millions on top of that in the marketing and the strategy and getting the movie out there in people's eyes. Whereas YouTube, like Mr. Beast, for instance, he's spending thousands on the marketing and stuff, but he's also spending more money than arguably a movie would spend on the budget for the movie. He's also spending it on the editing and the post-production and the storytelling, the script writers, the whatever voiceovers, whatever it is. So it's like, in that sense, like I feel stupid for saying this, but in that sense, YouTube is harder than making movies.
Yeah, I can see what you're saying, though.
Keeping that viewer involved and delved and interested in that story. And
because there's no stakes for them. It's just, am I entertained? Do I want to keep that? You have to convince someone to continuously make a free choice to be captivated by your content. I mean, you have to basically you have to make it so entertaining that they have no choice but to keep watching, and that's extremely difficult to do when there's no stake or buy-in. I mean,
I mean, there's also, like, if you think about it, there's like on TikTok, there's those pages that repost movies in short clips. Like, those pages. Like,
oh my
you
word.
can't do that with a gaming video and then say, YouTube link in bio. Like, most likely no one's gonna click it. But if you put a movie trailer, everybody's so interested, they're scrolling, and then they're like, oh, I want to watch the whole movie. They
find those like stupid Chinese violin songs.
Exactly. And you can't do that with gaming videos. And then there's certain niches you can do that with, like IRL content. When a dude posts like a trailer of his video or he posts something funny.
Oh, Arab is a master at it. Arab will he'll lead right up to the cliffhanger. Oh, go watch the full YouTube now.
There's Arab, there's like OG guys. There's Arab. There's that Asian Harding dude that does the pranks in like Walmart and stuff. There's a bunch of them that can do it. And if they put YouTube link in bio or they put YouTube link in comments, people are gonna click it because it's like IRL content. It's funny. It's everyday type of things. But with gaming, it's like no one's gonna click it. They're just gonna wait on TikTok to see it.
And there's, with different niches, it kind of varies. And like you said, in IRL, virality happens a lot with just small clips of a huge video. Gaming is not like that. You hit a clip on a game, you take a portion of your video out. Very seldom will a viewer actually be interested enough to go watch the full video. So that's why you have to rely on marketing, like in the actual game, or there's different approaches you have to take. And I mean, there are some things that gaming is stronger at that maybe IRL lacks in. There's different things you have to think about whenever approaching a project or video or whatever it is.
Dude.
I mean, Vishal, do you have?
No, I think we've like hit everything. We kind of like floated it really well. I know the one question I wanted to ask that literally was that, like, why people just can't blow off of one social anymore. Because I just think that with short form content kind of taking over platforms, like there's YouTube Shorts, Instagram Reels, TikTok. It's kind of, you have to put yourself in those scenarios to then boost your long form scenario, to then boost your like other.
There's very few scenarios where a long form video will organically blow up. Like, I mean, it happens often. You see all those little short clips on TikTok or Instagram Reels or YouTube Shorts.
One person I think was Gideon, like right off the top of my head.
And even like, I encourage if you make a long form video, splice that up, even if it's like uninteresting and you don't think it would do well, do it anyways. That's more traffic. That's more eyes seeing you, seeing your content, seeing your platform, and saying, hey, like I know who that is now. So just doing that in terms of discoverability is so profitable. Like, you're stupid if you don't upload short form content. And I mean, I think in the long run, long form is more lucrative and more profitable than short form. Short form is more of just like you really see the attention span of a person intact and working. And you really try to captivate them that way.
It's discoverability. It's growing a brand and a platform to funnel them to your more profitable,
you see all those TikTok stars who got huge on TikTok. They all have YouTube channels. They all have millions of subscribers and hundreds of thousands of views, and that's their main platform now. So, in terms of, if you're looking at it just from a strictly profitability, money, self-sustainability, that whole thing, that's going to be your long form. That's what I mainly work on. Because I've done my fair share of YouTube shorts, TikTok, stuff like that. And I mean, I hate to rip on it, but it's easy. It's just, I mean, you look at a lot of I think TikTok is the hardest platform by far.
100%.
A lot of YouTube shorts and a lot of Instagram reels are just re-uploaded TikToks. So which I think is a good strategy. I think if you make a really creative, interesting TikTok, put that on every platform under your name that you can.
Right.
So that way, that's just more people that are seeing your video. That's just more people.
1000%.
So it's all just, I mean, it's all just how you look at it. If you look at it from a strictly audience perspective, and a big thing I preach is, short form is great for discoverability and for funneling your audience to something else.
Right.
If you are strictly a short form creator, yes, you'll get numbers, you'll get famous, you'll get clicks, you'll get views, but if you want to build an audience, people who feel connected to you, if you and truly interact with all your socials, physically support you, buy your product, or whatever it is, that's your long form. Your long form, you build a personality, you build a relatability aspect that is not in short form. You are that person who sees you in that short 20-second clip is not going to know the slightest about you. You watch it. If somebody watches an 8 to 12 minute video of you, they're going to know more about you than watching a 30-second video.
Right.
So if you want to build a personal connection with your audience, build a personality, build a brand, that's going to be your long form. That's where that's where all the, and even looking from an external, not content perspective, brand, or making Feastables or Pizzafy, or I use those examples. There's plenty more. There's merch, there's Clicks with his dream, and there's that's where streaming, watching people watching you for hours on end on Twitch, people watching your 12-minute videos, that's where the people are gonna come from.
Well, and I was gonna say, from a streaming perspective, that's where I've gotten to now is like focus on your YouTube and your TikTok, build those and make your content targeted to that, and then so that you can funnel people to your Twitch, and then they can just get to know you. That's where interactivity comes. That's the final destination. But your content, what you're putting your hours and your thought and your content planning and strategy into, should be your YouTube. That should be your main platform. I mean, and honestly, like, I think it'll be even better in the future when YouTube actually builds and releases a streaming service. Because then you're going to have it all be on one platform. You're going to have your YouTube shorts, your videos, and your streaming all in one place. All I think they have to do really would be make a separate live page that's like basically the same as Twitch, and now all of a sudden, you have Laserbeam. He has 20 million subscribers on YouTube. If he goes live on YouTube and it actually has the type of infrastructure that a Twitch or even a Kick does, all of a sudden that's going to be like that. I think that's end game for creators. I think if YouTube makes a successful streaming platform,
people get so caught up in the whole Twitch Kick thing. It's like, you don't see what YouTube is doing. YouTube is I think YouTube can get into some murky water with kind of like the copyright, that whole thing. But other than maybe the copyright and maybe a couple other things, they very rarely get into drama. They are not, they pay their creators,
Yep.
They very well, by the way.
Yeah.
They understand them. They listen to their community.
Yeah.
They're constantly updating their platform, their UI.
Yeah.
You know, Twitch consistently comes out with like awful
Yep.
policies. Kick is still a new
Yeah,
place
before Kick was even a thing, I was saying, like, when YouTube started signing like Myth, Courage JD, Tim the Tapman, I mean, I was like, oh, they're making moves. Like, this is the first step in like a 3 to 5 year plan to make a streaming service that will rival Twitch. And I'm actually really glad that they're not rushing it. I like Kick was like, oh, we're just gonna get something out. They copied the Twitch UI. They're using the Twitch servers. Like, it's not. But I'm like, YouTube is building something that I really think could rival Twitch with the directions that both of them are going. YouTube live streaming, and if it all goes on one platform, that's end game for creators. That is like ideal.
So, you know, long form, that's already super successful. That's already, people are being paid out millions, billions of dollars. They just did their shorts fund. People are getting paid thousands, hundreds of thousands of dollars for that. The next step is just that streaming platform. Like you said, if they get solid rosters, if they get their UI maybe update a little bit, get a different tab in terms of, and really just push it out and do the discoverability, that whole thing, you know, wash and rinse it, clean up some things. They 100%, they are already one of the biggest. They could be the biggest
for sure. Well, and that's what I mean is like, does anyone, like, you go nowhere else for YouTube? We call it YouTube. We call, you know, like the video sharing service YouTube the same way that we call Band-Aids Band-Aids. It's a brand name, but YouTube is such a monopoly on like video sharing. But there's no other viable option. So if we get shorts in YouTube Shorts and long form and streaming all under the same name, branding, all in the same channel, it's one click away. That is game changing. You don't have to funnel to other platforms. You don't have to.
If like on that topic, if you think about it, like if someone mentions, "Oh, I saw this video the other day where this happened," and like they try to explain it, and they're like, "Let me just show you the video." What's the first app they pull up? It's YouTube.
YouTube, yeah.
It's YouTube. They're gonna pull it up and they're gonna try to look it up, even if it's there or not there. That's still traffic. That's still someone that's going on YouTube and sees maybe other videos that they're like, "Oh, maybe I want to watch that later." But I think YouTube, I think it's already huge. I think they have made some mistakes. They're going to make some mistakes. That's obvious.
Part of the process.
Just like any company, that's just like any company would. They have a new CEO, I believe, the Susan or whatever her name was.
Stepped down. Yeah.
They have someone else who's coming in, and he seems pretty, or they seem pretty solid. But I do think, like, you know, all these people who are writing, "Oh, I'm gonna make a full-time career on Kick or Twitch or Twitter or, you know, whatever it is," I think YouTube is the singular video sharing platform and video network. I'm going to call it a network. It is a network. It's a monopoly, like you said.
Yeah.
So I think getting in on it now, I mean, you know, YouTube has been around for so long, and, you know, people say, "Oh, you know, you should have already got in on it. It's too late," whatever. I think it's just the beginning of,
it's just the beginning
for sure,
of what it has to offer.
For sure. Well, and like if you aid it with other discoverability like TikTok, I mean, if you make a really good quality YouTube video and, like you said, splice it, put all the parts on TikTok, you'll see that traffic. You have the discoverability and the, like you said, the attention span, and you're building a brand and an audience there. You funnel them to that YouTube video and you're golden. I mean, you see people with the combination of YouTube and TikTok blow up overnight. And that's, you know, it's fully possible. So we have two traditional questions that we ask at the end of every episode. So one is like, what can we expect from you in the near future? And I guess you can kind of extend that to like, what can we expect from Dignitas that you can talk about in the near future?
It depends on how things play out, but a lot of people, depending on what happens, of course, a lot of people might be a little confused of what's going to happen with me and my career, but I think it will be very huge in terms of my steps in learning. And, you know, I'm under NDA, so I can't really say much, but it will be an absolutely crazy opportunity, one that only comes at me once in a lifetime. So I'm super excited for that. And, you know, I have some things coming up. From Dig, I mean, we're doing our thing. I feel like we've hit a really, you know, not necessarily plateau, but we've hit a comfortable patch where it's like, okay, we've been going for been chugging along for a little while now, so we kind of understand the workflow and how
Yeah.
things. We have been reevaluating the content a little bit. We're gonna start building like storyboards and really putting, because what it was before, I was editing the videos as well as producing them.
Okay.
Right.
So it was basically full time.
Yeah.
Not only was I organizing all these videos with one other person, give him credit, he helps a lot, but I was also editing those videos for hours on end.
Yeah.
So we were also doing 2 videos a week. So
wow. Yeah.
that was, those were our best months by far. It was all filler content. It was, stuff you could expect from maybe every team, to be honest, but we had the names, we had the assets, we had the names, and we did well. We did super well.
Yeah.
And, we made money, we were profitable. And so, but now we hit that point where it's like, we've kind of run out of, we were planning on doing this originally anyways, so it's kind of a good time to do this. We're running out of kind of the generic stuff. We really want to put our heads together and get some creative, never before seen. We have the house in Dallas. We want to do some IRL stuff, which is a huge asset to have for anyone, is IRL interaction. That's a whole other thing, but I know we're reaching the end, so I don't really want to talk about it too much. But long story short, having those IRL capabilities are just huge for any channel.
Yeah.
But we're starting to put our heads together. We're gonna build storyboards, build plot, have these really, really spectacular, long thought out videos go out every single week, and only do one of those a week rather than 2 of them, and just pumping out whatever we can get.
Yeah. So yes, the last question that we always ask, and you've given a lot of your personal advice in regards to being a creator and YouTube specifically and all that. But it would just be, if you were to give one piece of advice, it could be Fortnite related, it could be life related, it could be content, it could be editing, whatever. What would it be?
I would say 2 things. And these are both things that actually my dad has taught me, and I've applied to almost every scenario and has never failed.
Nice.
First one, never burn bridges unless absolutely necessary.
Okay.
I get it. If someone's toxic and you need to get them out of your life, I get that.
Yeah,
but if you're ending things mutually with someone, you cut ties, whatever, never burn that bridge. Never feel like, oh, I don't need to talk to that person anymore. Keep up with them. You never know, they might come back in the future and be like, hey, that guy's awesome. Like, use them as a reference. Never burn bridges. And really just be with those people and just keep up with them.
Yeah.
And then second thing is never stop being teachable. That's another thing my dad has always taught me. You see these people who think they know everything. Yep. And ultimately that's the reason for their downfall.
Yep. Complacency. Complacency is one of the biggest problems in the Fortnite scene. Pros and creators are like, oh, I'm comfortable here. I'm good. And they just stop, they put in the same effort. They don't try and escalate. And content creation, man, it's all about momentum. And if you stop escalating, you are stopping your momentum dead in its tracks. You need to be constantly evolving and growing and learning and upping the stakes. You look at one of the most successful content creators ever lived. You look at Mr. Beast. Like, he's always trying to up the stakes. He's literally spending millions of dollars on each video just because people are expecting more and more and more. If he, all of a sudden went back to his old type of video from 2 years ago, his channel would die instantly because of the same concept. Like, you need to be upping, you need to be growing. And honestly, I think the same thing goes for life. You need to don't get complacent where you are. If you have skill, or if you're a competitive player, like where your skill is as a creator, as where you are as a creative, like, never be complacent. Never allow yourself to be static or plateau. You need to be pushing and evolving in whatever you do to be the best version of yourself. And I think that carries.
On top of that, like, not only being complacent, but like not being open to learning.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah.
Like thinking everything, and like, I feel like there's nothing other people can offer me.
Yeah.
I can't tell you how many times, like, I think I knew something on a topic and I'm pretty well versed on it, and I've studied it before, talked to someone about it. Whoa. I never looked at it from that.
And it can be anyone too. You can learn anything from anyone at any time. It can be the dumbest person you've ever met, and they say something, and you're like, "Whoa, wait,
I've heard
maybe
stuff
you're
from
Einstein."
You might be in.
Yeah.
Like,
No, literally. I mean, you never know how some interaction with someone can open your eyes to a new perspective or,
Yeah,
you know,
and like
knowledge that you didn't have access to.
sometimes it's just common sense, but you just don't think
yeah.
about it.
Yeah.
And
Oh,
the
for
big thing
sure.
is
Yeah.
like I feel like the biggest thing blocking people from that is like pride.
Yeah. Oh, for
Feeling
sure.
like
Yep.
I've built myself up so much,
Yep.
like I and just like not accepting that sometimes people just know more than you do.
Yeah.
Like it's just like, oh,
Yeah.
I know there is everything to know about this certain topic, and it's like
Yeah.
I'm not open for like
Yep.
anyone else to teach me some things. So
Yep. Yep.
Yep.
Which is ironic because to get to where they were, they had to be teachable. They had to
Oh,
be
yeah,
open. They had
exactly.
to learn. I mean, you know, it's like
Mhm.
that process never ends. To be the best version of yourself, there's always something to be learned.
Yeah.
You are not perfect. You're not, even if you're the best at something, you're not perfect at it. And you can't be. It's, you always have something to progress in. And yeah, I mean, 100%. I think pride, like you said, pride is a massive thing. And I think honestly, a lot of the Fortcom, a lot of its issues stem from that as well. I think there's just a
yeah,
thing of,
and like especially this is something that has been revealed to me. When people say like, oh, they got an ego,
yeah,
they say they're
Oh.
Bugha, right?
yeah,
Yep.
yeah.
I work with Bugha, and he just like he's one of the nicest guys I've been able to
Mm.
work with. So like, just like even people who you look at as, oh, they're just so much better than me, they wouldn't have time for me. Like I'm sure those people would absolutely love to share their
Yeah.
brain and just pick
Yeah.
their brain and ask them, hey, like
Yeah.
if I learn from people all the time who are better than me, even people who are worse than me. Like
Yeah.
I not necessarily worse than me, but they might not know as much, but they also might have they know different things. So
Yeah.
it's like really pick their brains and
Yeah.
try to understand.
Ladies and gentlemen, thank you for joining us for yet another installment of the GhostComms podcast. We will have Hevn's stuff linked below in the description. Make sure you check him out. Check out the Dignitas channel as well. Check out Pipeline's channel. Check out our merch at arma.gg/collections/pipeline. Check out me and Vishal's, all of our stuff in the descriptions below. And join us for the next episode. We can't wait to see you. Until then, peace.
Later.